Dynasty mistakes to avoid, things that can really cripple your dynasty run. And I think this is something I've seen through doing audits, through doing, experiencing trades that people make in leagues that I just don't, I can't fathom what they're doing. I think it's just a matter of not understanding the magnitude of the assets you possess. So the first one I got, moving multiple assets for one in return. And obviously this can be viable. You can do this. You can go 2 for 1, even 3 for 1. If you're getting a prime asset and you kind of have assets to burn, but you should not be making these types of moves when you have limited assets, limited draft picks. You shouldn't be making these moves because oftentimes it'll just end up crippling your team where you're just getting one asset in return. While it might be a really good asset like a Jamar Chase, like a Justin Jefferson. If you're moving 3 firsts or, that kind of quality of players, but you don't have a huge pool of assets to move, it just doesn't make sense to me to move so many assets for one in return. I really just think that's a great way to debilitate your asset pool, picks, players, what you have to move for other pieces later down the road. And what it does too is, I know you can't always play in this hyperbole, but if that one player gets hurt, you're that much less able to, pick up the pieces later if you don't have those assets to burn already. Don't necessarily not move multiple assets, but kind of do it wisely. Like I said, if you're moving 3 firsts worth of assets for one of those big names, while I love those names, it might not be super worth it for your team. Especially if you're not really, it's not a move that's going to put you over the hump. If you're in the middle of the pack, it's not really that type of move unless you're in a really low starting roster where you're only starting 7 or 8 players a week. Be calculated with how you do it. Make sure you have adequate assets already to kind of burn is kind of a big thing for me there. Overpaying for hyped up names and name value. This is a case where I think, we discussed this in our DeAndre Swift video that came out yesterday, where you're paying up for a projected production of a player, where I think, okay, there is a game to that where you can go buy DeAndre Swift. Another name that was thrown out that's similar to DeAndre Swift is CeeDee Lamb, a player everybody loves, but, has not met expectations yet for what we want him to be. For somebody who's being drafted as a top 5 wide receiver in Dynasty, he's not lived up to that yet. I will say with that caveat, he has every avenue to do so this year lined up for him, where he's not, he doesn't have Amari Cooper there. It's the CeeDee Lamb show, period. Just because you shouldn't pay the price of a player that has not broken out for what their broken out price is, basically. So you shouldn't be sending, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase level prices for CeeDee Lamb. And I don't think many people are paying that much, but they're paying more than they probably should for assets like that. And a prime example for me, and not necessarily just talking big names, talking names like last year's hyped up player was Antonio Gibson. I went out, made the mistake of spending a lot of capital to go and get him. The year before that, Miles Sanders was the guy who was being hyped up as this awesome dynasty player. He was going to be great. Spent a lot of assets to go get him. It's one of those things where you got to kind of pick your spots and not pay that premium for what the hype is telling you to pay. Well, there's hype around him. It sounds like a good reason to buy. No, that's not the kind of case to play. The best way to do it is to, kind of forecast ahead, try to get in before the hype does, and get that player at proper value. But you should never pay up that projected production price. The last thing I got, not building up your draft capital pool. This is something I've seen with a ton of audits, is just that, and not having a ton of draft capital to work with. And this is something that's I've felt is a kind of a cheat code with my leagues, because draft capital never goes down in value, pretty much always goes up. You can say what you want about this 2022 class and that how it was so terrible, but the thing is, everybody was still wanting to trade in to get in and get picks because rookies are fun. They're exciting. It's one of the best parts of the year for a lot of people. A lot of people feel like the rookie draft is the best part of the year. And if you don't have picks, you want to trade in to get picks. So, and then they can be used in trades. They can be used to obviously draft players and build up your team. The draft picks are just so versatile that there's no reason not to go and acquire as much as you can. Every single trade I do, I'm trying to get some piece of draft capital back, even if it's a third or a fourth. It doesn't have to be a premier pick. It doesn't have to be a first or second to make it worthwhile going to get. I would even say that some thirds and fourths are better because it can kind of help bridge the gap between a player you have and a player you want that might be better for your team than the player you're sending. Or you might be trying to, maybe you're not as high on the player you have, but you do like a player that somebody else has. They need a little more to push it over the edge. You can send that bonus third round pick you picked up before. You can kind of use those as bridge pieces, and you can still draft people with them. People love their third and fourth round sleepers.
Well, that is it for this video. I do hope you all enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did. Comment down below your thoughts on the video itself. If you want to support this team and go deeper with us and get access to bonus content, written content, rankings, and our Discord community group chat, be sure to check out patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind. It's a great way to support the brand and let us know that you want us to keep cranking out awesome content. And you get access to all of us 24/7. Lastly, if you enjoyed this video today, I'm sure you'll love this one too. Be sure to go check it out. But hey, that is it for me today. I'll see y'all in the next one. But until then, y'all have a good one.